Great to see you all. We're going to start in just a few minutes. This meeting is being recorded. We ask for you to mute your microphones as you come in. And we will have an opportunity for a lot of questions and for you to unmute your microphones a little bit later on. But for now, if you could please all mute your microphones as you come in. Welcome. It's great to see everyone. We're going to wait just a few more minutes until more folks join us. In the meantime, please type in the chat, what is your name? Where are you from? Where are you joining us from? I'm going to launch a poll here as well that we'd like you to complete. Welcome, Caroline. Welcome, Sue in Vermont. Wow, we have coast to coast, north to south. This is great representation already. Welcome from Maine and Kansas. Bristol, PA. Hi, Nicole. I'm close by. I'm in Philly. Welcome from Kansas. Let's see, Massachusetts. Kentucky. Wow, this is great representation. California, North Carolina, more Vermont, South Dakota, Kentucky, Texas, Florida, wonderful, Connecticut. This is great. We'll get started in just another minute and allow folks to join, because we have a lot of great information today. Thank you also for completing the poll. We are at 75%, so if you can all just go ahead and complete that, that would be great for us to get a sense of how you're doing programming, if you are, what your level is. This does not affect your chances of getting the grant in any capacity. We're just kind of curious to see who's in the room. All right. Welcome to those who have just joined. If you wouldn't mind putting your name, location in the chat. We have folks from coast to coast, north to south, and somewhere in the middle. Welcome. My name is Tara Cox. I'm going to introduce the other folks on the call in just a minute. Let me just end the poll and let's take a look. All right, so about 50% of you here have offered citizen science programming at least a few times a year, which is great to see. Some of you are more frequent and some not as frequent. So this might be giving you a chance to do more. This might be helping to jumpstart. And in any capacity, if you don't receive this grant, there's a lot of great information here today that we hope that you use, and it kickstarts you in becoming a hub, a community hub for citizen science. All right, let me just move things out of the way. So I'm Tara Cox, project manager with SciStarter and working on this project. I'm joined by my colleague, Robin. Hi, Robin.
Hi, everyone.
Robin is a retired librarian and is a project specialist, really helping us to make this project work for our libraries. Also on the call is my colleague, Emily Early, who's going to be in the chat and gathering your questions for answer our Q&A session in a little bit. So our agenda for the next hour is to dive a little bit into the work that we've been doing with citizen science and libraries. Robin's going to talk to you a little bit about that. Then talk about this opportunity that I'm sure most of you are here for. I just want to reiterate that this grant opportunity is for public libraries. So if you are not a public library and you're on this call today, just know that you are not eligible for a grant. There is some other information that we will be sharing, some other resources, where to find them. So if you want to stick around, there might be something for you to hear and for you to take home. but this is a grant opportunity for public libraries. We'll talk to you a little bit about how to apply. And like I said, a lot of time will be devoted to questions, and Emily is going to be gathering questions from the chat and adding them to an internal spreadsheet so that at the very, very end, we know we have a record of your questions. So if something comes up as we're presenting, feel free to put it in the chat. All right. Go ahead, Robin.
Thanks, Tara. So let's start off by talking about what is citizen science. Citizen science is a collaborative effort for everyone and anyone to get involved because they're curious or concerned and motivated to make a difference. It's how we can make an impact on issues we care about and at the same time help science. Okay, next, please. So many libraries across the countries are becoming hubs of citizen science. And the library is the perfect place to go because we're trusted community places where people, almost anyone, can come in and get access to books, videos, computers, Wi-Fi, even telescopes, and now citizen science kits. And these kits that we'll be talking about today will help you get your library users involved in citizen science. Next. So why do citizen science? What are the benefits? Well, there's benefits not only to science, but to your communities. So again, it enables people from all walks of life to get actively involved to address those issues around the world or in their own community that they're concerned or curious about. You know, it broadens who can participate. You don't have to have a science degree to be a citizen scientist. It enables people to develop skills in data collection, analysis, and interpretation. And it furthers our mission as libraries to enable participants to learn about nature of science and scientific reasoning for our mission of lifelong learning. And it also accelerates the research and discovery of science. Next, please. So how do we get started? Well, you, your staff, your community should sign up on SciStarter.org for an account. SciStarter is the research affiliate with Arizona State University. And it's this website that's going to help us all become citizen scientists. It's going to be your go-to place to get the resources we're going to talk about today, to download manuals, marketing material, even training. And then beyond that, it's where you're going to find the projects and even tools that will help you do the citizen science project. Right now, there's more than 3,000 projects and tools that you can find on this website, and they're all searchable to the point where if you have a teacher that comes in, you can help them find projects that have relevant school materials. If you have somebody that's going somewhere, let's say to the coast, and wants to do research, you can direct them to projects specific to that area or to their own backyard. Next, please. So I was part of the initial pilot project that SciStarter and Arizona State University started in 2017 through grants from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS. And we were part of a 6-library group in the Phoenix area. And we started out through the guidance of Arizona State University in having community dialogues or discussions about what projects would matter to our library users and what were people wanting to learn more about, or what were they curious about, or what issues did they want us be involved in the solutions for. And in fact, one of the big groups that came to our dialogue in Gilbert, Arizona, was the astronomy group, the amateur astronomy group. they're really concerned about light pollution. It affects their ability to look at the stars. And as we've found through our work with ASU and SciStarter, light pollution also affects your circadian rhythm or your ability to, get a good night's rest. And that's true for not only humans, but plants and animals. So, there's really even a health benefits to understanding light pollution. And the project scientist has been thrilled by the results she's getting from the growing network of citizen scientists through libraries, as well as we as library users learning more about this whole issue. And then in 2019, the project was expanded to more Arizona libraries. There's probably around 30 libraries in Arizona now who are either checking out these citizen science kits, offering programs, or in the process of doing so. This has also been possible through the generous work of the Arizona State Library, who has worked to provide LSTA grants to Arizona libraries to also build kits and support citizen science through the funds they're receiving from these grants. Next, please. So the project goals of this initial grant were to lower barriers to participate in projects that require tools. Tools that you'll see are things that people wouldn't normally have at home or may not even be able to afford to have at home. The project also helps citizen science and project scientists find and access the right tools. And then, of course, we partnered with the libraries to put these kits together and make them available to their library users. Next. So let's look at the kits in the, that we would like you to consider should you get this grant to bring into your library. And we'll talk about the specifics of that in a few minutes. But the first kit is Measuring Light in the Night, which supports the Globe at Night light pollution research. Next, Exploring Biodiversity is the project that supports the iNaturalist cloud database, which has users or crowdsources users from around the world to gather observations of living things, including fungus, reptiles, insects, plants, and of course, animals. Then next you have Monitoring Air Quality. That little white device on that woman's backpack is called an air beam sensor, and you can keep it in one place or you can ride your bike or walk around with it, where the air beam sensor will measure particulate matter in the air. And then you, the citizen scientist uploads that data into the habitat map for habitat.org. And then that data is available for anyone to use for those purposes of analyzing and looking at air quality. And then finally, we have Observing Pollinators. This project supports the Great Sunflower Project, where users observe a plant that would attract a pollinator, which could be a bee, a moth, a butterfly, bat, or bird for at least 5 minutes, and then report those observations, whether you saw a pollinator or not, and if so, what the pollinator was and what the plant was that it was using to gather pollen. Again, helping researchers discover what's going on with pollinators who are so important to our food sources. And then let's look on the right exactly what a kit might look like that you circulate through your library. Well, first you're going to want to get a case for storage and carrying it around. Of course, everything on that side is up to you, but we suggest this box. Our Los Angeles Public Library group uses those stadium bags or fanny packs for theirs. So, that's pretty up to you to use and what you decide to use. And then the kit itself includes a subject guide, or I'm sorry, a activity guide that explains the projects, the steps to do it, how to upload the data or observations. And in this kit, that item behind the activity guide is a planisphere, and you would order the planisphere that's appropriate for the area of the country you're in, and it would allow the user participant to align themselves with the stars in the sky. So it helps guide you to what you're seeing up in the sky. The other item there in the middle is a red flashlight, which helps protect your night vision. And then finally, the sky quality meter, that kind of card deck size instrument. And relatively speaking, that's pretty expensive. When all is said and done with shipping and taxes, that runs around $100. And we've secured a discount that's noted in the supply list, you'll find, to get that at a better rate because you are participating in this research work. And it makes the project very easy by just taking that sky quality meter at least an hour after sunset and before the moon rises, if you're not doing it on a moonless night, point it up into the sky, push a button, and then you get your reading, which can then be uploaded as directed in the activity guide to the Globe at Night research project. Okay, now let's talk about all the marketing materials we have available to help you promote these activities in your libraries. So if you look at this, all of these things you see, except for the floor stand, are free to download. And starting over at the upper left, we even provide posters and flyers for our big push of Citizen Science Month in April. April is Citizen Science Month. And then next to it is, again, a flyer for the Measuring Light at Night project. We provide you with these flyers that you can use in your book displays, take to outreach events, or as I like to use them, as shelf talkers, where you put these flyers on a shelf in your collection related to the project that kind of provides self-serve information to those library users you never see, but can catch when they're looking and browsing through your shelves. Below that is a book list. We've even created book lists to help you develop your collection or to rework for your own use to reflect your reflection of children and adult materials. Again, great for Citizen Science Month or book displays or outreach events. In the middle, we've Arizona State University, with the help of a professional designer, developed these wonderful rack cards. And starting from the upper left, you have the card that could go in the sign holder you see on the right or on a tabletop display that explains the project and that, again, that you have kids to support that project. In the middle is a card that says, hey, the kits are out, but just bring this to the front and we'll get you on the waiting list. And then the rack card at the lower right is where you could affix your specific barcode for that collection item. And again, the user knows, hey, the kit's available, come to the front desk and we'll get it checked out to you. And of course, what library and project wouldn't be complete without bookmarks? So there's even a variety of bookmarks related to the project, Citizen Science Month, or as you can see, just explaining what is citizen science. Put these again in your book displays, pass them out during summer reading. If you do nonfiction book bundles related to the specific idea of the project, put them in there. And then that way you're going to be able to tell your library users that, yes, you support citizen science and now you're a hub for that lifelong learning activity. Next. So finally, we want you to know that we're here to support you from the very beginning. Just recently, with the help of an instructional designer from Arizona State University, SciStarter was able to develop 2 learning modules online. They're self-paced, so you don't have to do them all at once. The first one that we want everyone to take, including library staff as well as your library users, is Foundations of Citizen Science. And you'll find that at SciStarter.org or .org, not com, /training. And it's has the users get their SciStarter account, go through the online training where they'll gain confidence and knowledge in becoming a citizen scientist, and then actually contributing to 2 citizen science projects. So by the time they finish, they'll have the who, what, where, and why of citizen science, as well as earning a badge which shows the micro-credentials they have earned going through that tutorial, something they can share through LinkedIn or certainly reference on resumes to reflect the different skills they've gained. And then for library staff and users, we have the libraries as hubs of citizen science training, which will further provide you with the tips and tricks of facilitating citizen science in your library. Again, all this information is available at scistarter.org/library-resources. And that's also where you're going to find a link to the library and community guide to citizen science there on the lower right hand of this slide. That document will give you case studies of what other libraries are doing to promote citizen science and support it at their libraries. It gives you ideas of who to contact for citizen science expertise or subject matter experts. And it also provides examples of letters for communicating to volunteers, subject matter specialists, or just saying thank you for helping us. Also, there's a programming checklist that leads you step by step for developing a program, either virtually or face-to-face, because we all know we have to have that skill set when we're offering program as libraries nowadays. Okay, the next slide. And this is where I'm going to turn the program back over to Tara.
Thank you, Robin, for giving us some background into this work and for providing examples of all the amazing resources that we've developed. And like I said at the beginning, this grant, we're only looking for 10 libraries in this particular pilot. But the good news is that all of the resources that Robin just highlighted are available today on the websites that Caroline is putting in the chat, and we'll talk to you about those websites again in a little bit. So feel free to get started as a community hub for citizen science today. We're hoping that for those libraries that do receive the funding to be able to kickstart your participation. So we're going to talk a little bit now about what this grant opportunity is all about. It's really an extension of the work that Robin was talking about in Arizona. It's to scale this nationally, right, outside of Arizona, to all of the amazing states that are represented today, hopefully at one point. But we're looking for those 10 pilot libraries. And the goal is to enhance a library's capacity to serve their community through citizen science. We know that STEM is a really important programmatic opportunity, not just for children, but for the community at large. As Robin talked about with the amateur astronomers, there's opportunities to engage children, adults, seniors around STEM, and citizen science is one of the ways to do that. So another goal of this particular grant opportunity is to understand the scalability of these kits. How do they work in a small rural library versus a large urban library? How do different communities engage with the kits? And so community organizations are a central part of this program. And we want to test these kits with particular community-based organizations and others to assess how they might work for a Girl Scouts troop or an amateur astronomer group or a 4-H organization. Those are just some of the community-based partners. And then finally, the goal is to for you to continue leading citizen science in your community and nationally. So while the funding will take you, there are certain expectations around the funding timeline. We want you to continue to do this work. This is not just, pilot in the couple of months, but really it is meant to be a seed funding for you to expand your engagement with citizen science in your library. So as I mentioned, we are looking for 10 public libraries. I think we'll have to clarify, but my understanding is that that university or private libraries are not eligible, but we'll get some clarification around that. Those public libraries must be committed to serving underrepresented populations in STEM and are willing to partner with community-based organizations to broaden participation. So as I mentioned, we have some community-based organizations that we've been working with to develop some resources to tailor citizen science experiences to the Girl Scouts or to 4-H or to the amateur astronomers. And libraries must be willing to partner with those particular organizations. We will help make those connections to local chapters. The national organizations are on our projects team, and they're going to help make connections to local chapters. And then finally, the libraries must be able to participate in training and support from September of this year through April of next year. But again, that is not to say that after April is done, your work with citizen science is done. We are growing this network through the Citizen and Community Science National Library Network, which some of you may have heard of already. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we want you to become a leader in this network as you pilot these kits in your libraries. Okay, so what are the benefits of this opportunity? You get $1,600 to build 4 to 6 citizen science kits. We say 4 to 6 because, as Robin mentioned, some of the kits are a little bit more expensive than others. The air quality kit, for example, has a more expensive meter, so you might not be able to make 8 of those kits. So depending on the 2 themes that you choose or that you kind of mark as ones that might be of interest to your communities, you can build 4 to 8 kits with that funding. We also encourage you to purchase or print the marketing materials. You will get professional development. We'll talk about the webinars and the training series that is associated with this grant, ongoing support through the amazing team that we have, access to a national network of community-based organizations. Those are the ones that I was talking about. And obviously evaluation reports and data findings from this program so that you can continue to support this work on a local level. So the expectations, if you do receive the grant, are to purchase the materials and assemble those 4 to 8 citizen science kits in at least 2 themes. So in the application, we ask you to rank the kits from your top 3. That doesn't mean that you necessarily will get your top 3. We want to make sure that, well, you'll likely get at least 1 or 2 of your top 3, but we want to make sure that there is good representation across the country in these various themes. So, a couple of libraries with the Globe at Night kit, a couple of libraries with Pollinators kit. So we'll work that out as you get selected, but please rank the themes that you feel like will resonate best with your community and that will inspire folks to engage in the projects. Another expectation is to move the citizen science kits into circulation. And actually, we should have maybe put the timeline for that. That would start in January, the circulation, January through April. And as I mentioned, we'll be making connections to local chapters of community-based organizations to come and check out your kits. Manage the kits. So we're going to be interested in data around those kits, obviously, how many times they were checked out. Also, you'll be responsible for storing them and replenishing any materials that are consumable. The other expectations are that you'll host at least 1 program or event to support awareness of citizen science. That can be a virtual event, that can be an in-person event. You can invite a expert to come and talk about the topic, the kit that you want folks to check out. We'll talk a lot more about that if you do get selected on how to host an effective citizen science program to bring awareness. So you'll get a lot of skills in order to be able to do that. We also require you to attend all of the project webinars. So these are the dates that we currently have. For the ones that you must attend, September 15th, September 22nd, October 13th, November 18th, and April 20th. And then there is a requirement to attend at least one of the collaboration meetings, which are kind of office hours used to check in together. If you already know that you cannot attend one of these events, that does not completely disqualify you from receiving this grant. Please just note that in the application, there's a question, is there anything else you'd like us to know? And we can certainly, work around that if you do get selected. So it will not completely disqualify you. Unfortunately, if you can't attend any of these events, it might not be a good time to apply. But please note that in your application, and we will try to be as flexible as possible there. We know that a lot of things come up, and there's certainly opportunity. We also, one of the things that we feel like is also very important is to appoint at least 2 points of contact for your library. So not just one person on this project, but really involving and building the capacity of other folks in your library to understand citizen science and be confident in bringing citizen science to the community. So on the application, it asks for 2 points of contact. And then finally, because this is a grant, we will be administering some post-program surveys and potentially a wrap-up meeting with project evaluators to think about and reflect on your time in and learning in this grant. And also some data collection as well, which we will provide in advance what information we're looking from you for at the end, so that you know at the very beginning what information we'd like you to collect throughout. So how to apply? We have a fully detailed application overview on the library network page. So you can go there, it's a PDF, but then we've asked you to complete a Google form application. So we have all those questions for you pulled out so that you don't need to go into Google to look at them. And we ask that you apply by 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on July 23rd. And then we will notify all applicants of our decisions by August 17th, 2021, so that you have about a month before our first orientation meeting together in September. Okay, that's all that I have. I think we have plenty of time for questions, which is great. I see a lot of links in the chat. Any questions? Please feel free to unmute and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Tara, it's Robin. I also just want to emphasize the idea that the trainings, online trainings we talked about are available now. They're available for anyone. I mean, and if you don't, if you're unfortunately don't get the grant, please don't feel that you have to have the grant to do this. Many of the libraries that are working with us now have forged ahead without financial support from grants like this, but we're hoping whether if you go to your local Rotary Club or other kind of local community group that funds things like this, that you could get funds, or in the case of the library I worked for, Maricopa County Library District in Arizona, they decided after seeing the pilot program work so successfully, they put the appropriate kits in, I think, every one of the 18, 19 branches that they now have. So don't let this grant opportunity stop you from being involved in citizen science. Start using things now, or certainly just forge ahead without this grant money.
Thank you for saying that, Robin. And some great questions coming up. So one of the questions was, what about the heat mapping kit? I did address that in the chat, but I just wanted to know it wasn't one of the ones that Robin reviewed. It is still under development. And we hope to have that as one of the kits that will be available for you to make. Are the kits mostly for adults or for kids or for both? That's also a great question. It's for both. Some of the kits work really well for younger audiences. Like the Pollinators kit, especially, and the iNaturalist kit, and others work for everyone. And the Globe at Night is a great kit for amateur astronomer groups, as Robin mentioned, which are primarily adults. Robin, do you want to talk more about the various types of folks that might be interested in checking out these kits?
Yeah, well, and as Caroline mentioned in the chat, you need to be 13 or older to have a SciStarter account, first of all. And as she mentioned, these are amazing projects to do as families with adult supervision. We've had other libraries talk about the librarian or a supporting library staff member taking the data and putting it in through their account or the library account. That's another way to get around working with younger people if you're doing it in a library setting. So yeah, I mean, you know, if you have grandparents that take care of grandchildren, what an amazing way to get outside, especially with projects like the Observing Pollinators and iNaturalist, to create and spark that curiosity with younger children. So absolutely all ages, but you know, we also want people who are 55 and older to get involved too, because lots of times we find they're dedicated to the research projects. And again, there's hundreds of more projects to do outside of these kits. And the kit should be almost looked at as a stepping stone into or a springboard into other projects that may interest someone for a different reason. There's one called Stall Catchers that have been hugely popular, especially for people who have family members or friends who are suffering from memory loss disease. They want to help find a cure for that, which this project is doing. So anyway, I hope that answers that question.
I think so. Thank you. Another question that goes along the lines, if I only have 4 kits for a Girl Scouts troop of a dozen, will that support a group activity or will they need to trade off? These kits can support a group activity, absolutely. They're not necessarily meant for one person to use, so they can be for a small group to use. And you could potentially include multiple objects within that kit to make it even more accessible to a group to check out. So we can definitely talk about that. Would the kit, well, there was a question first that was about community-based organizations that I want to get to. If you don't currently partner with a community-based organization, are you not eligible? I think was the question. No, we do not expect you to partner with community-based organizations right now. If this is a way for you to start that work, that would be great. So just note in the application, it does ask you to think about ways that you have been engaging underrepresented groups in your library. That is important for us. So we encourage you to note in your application how you are currently engaging your communities. That is important. However, it's not necessarily required that you partner with one of the organizations that we talked about.
And Tara, can I jump in on the next question? Do you have any training for university librarians interested in playing a role like ASU did? Well, again, you know, if we really encourage you to take the true online courses that we've established in the SciStarter /training and then the library -training. And what university librarians would be amazing for is to help coordinate subject experts with public libraries. So as an example, when I worked in Gilbert, Arizona, I had the Arizona State University Polytechnic research scientist on bees. He was so excited to come in and talk about his research and beekeeping, but he did an amazing job relating it to citizen science projects that we were promoting at our library. So if you also, ASU has a, oh gosh, I can't remember the exact name, Center for Biodiversity. The director of that came in and it not only helped him get volunteers because he needed volunteers to come in and help catalog the living organism. Well, they weren't alive anymore, but the samples they had to catalog. But he also explained that this amazing resource was part of, was right in our back door on our back doorstep, and it was part of a world effort to, you know, talk about and catalog biodiversity. So please, if you're part of an organization involved with universities, we definitely need matchmaking with subject experts to help deepen the dive and understanding in some of this research, even if they're not involved directly with that project.
Thank you, Robin. I do want to clarify too, oops, I went forward a slide. I do want to clarify as well that, let me just go back. These training webinars are going to be very specific to the project. However, you've heard about 2 tutorials that are online training tutorials. They're self-guided. You don't need anyone to participate but yourself. Those are available today, and they are separate from this particular series of trainings that are specifically for the pilot libraries.
Yeah. And Tara, another question that came up was, are community colleges considered public libraries? Well, I think we're going to have a discussion about that. But again, back in Arizona, there was a community college branch and a Phoenix Public Library that co-shared a space. Now, I know it was 2 different organizations, but does the community college have open access to all residents? If you are checking materials out and your residents of your community are you know, able to get cards for free at your library, then I think, yes, we need to talk about that. And I think you would be considered a public library.
I was going to say that as well. There was a question about school libraries. I think right now, the way that we are, the definition that we're going to operate under is, if there are folks that cannot access your space for some reason, then we are not going to be able to consider you for this opportunity. It must be open to anyone that wants to come check something out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robin.
That's a good point. And Tara, I'm kind of switch here. Somebody asked, is the stipend given to the libraries or is it a reimbursement situation?
It is going to be, from what I understand, given directly to the libraries. They will not have to seek reimbursement for it.
And then there's a question about, is the training being offered or used as college continuing education course credits for teachers? You know, this is informal training. You know, I don't think it would be considered college. It would not be college credit. But again, because we're proving and providing micro credentials, certainly somebody could say, hey, I've gone through this training, look at the skills I've developed. But again, this is all informal, which is what public libraries are all about, is informal training to gain valuable skills.
Libraries can receive a badge, a digital badge, for participating in the training tutorials online.
And then also, Tara, if you can hear me, they also do get professional development credits through the Medical Library Association.
That's right. That is for libraries. Yes. I think this was a question about continuing education courses for teachers. So not at this time, but for libraries can take this tutorial and get continuing professional development credits and a badge, a digital badge.
Yeah, through the, thank you, darling, because it is the Medical Library Association. You must take both courses to get that credit if you are working on MLA accreditation. Great point.
But again, that's slightly separate than this grant opportunity, where we will be offering webinars that are much more small group and customized to the 10 libraries that are participating in this program. And because there are specific requirements around how you must use these kits with the community-based organizations and with others in the community.
And don't forget, you can use Foundations of Citizen Science as part of your programming. Tara has developed a great kind of abbreviated slide with even speaker notes that's in the library resources page. to download and use. I mean, you don't even have to create the slides. She's done it for you, and even think about what to say. She's done that. We've also done that for the pollinators, observing pollinator kits. So, you know, take it, mix it around, use it, what makes sense for your community and your program. But yeah, we've already probably done 50% of the work that you would need to do to even do programming. I don't know if I'd, as a retired librarian, if I would really tell people to come and go step by step through the foundations of library, of foundations of citizen science. But if you're in a community where access is really difficult, why not set up a lab or have a lab, computer lab available, and just say, hey, during this next hour or for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have this lab open and we're going to ask you to go through the foundations of citizen science. I'm going to be here to answer questions. And maybe one day we're going to go out and look for squirrels, which is one of the project points that you participate in to actually provide observations for the project. So just tons of different ways. It's your imagination and how you use our resources.
Yes, and I actually did want to mention that by joining the library network, we will be hosting national webinars that are going to be very similar to the ones that the pilot libraries get on how to host a citizen science event, how to engage your community in citizen science. Some of those, you know, other areas of bringing this work to your communities, we will be hosting that on a national level. So join those webinars. They will be larger than the 10 pilot libraries, but very similar content. Trying to see if there's any other questions. Thank you, Darren from ASU has confirmed that yes, the libraries will be getting a direct stipend and will not need to submit reimbursement or receipts to us. And then Judy says, so you will contact our local Girl Scouts or 4-H group. That is correct. So we have relationships with the National Girl Scouts. We have relationships with 4-H. We have relationships with the amateur astronomer groups nationally, and we are working with them. We're going to look at the libraries that apply and look at where some of our chapters that we know are engaged and kind of match that way as well. But luckily for you all, there are chapters of these organizations all across the country. So it won't be hard to find some matches for the libraries that are chosen.
I think there was one question, would the kits first be used with the community-based organizations and then be moved for anyone to check out in terms of circulation?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if we have necessarily figured that out internally yet. Because you're building multiple kits, I would say not necessarily. I think that if we, you'll be, the libraries that are chosen in the pilot will be submitting a plan in December on how they, like kind of a dissemination plan. How will you engage certain organizations? We'll have done some of that matching already. So there will be a schedule put in place before January, like a rough schedule for when you will be partnering with, well, when, you know, to expect certain organizations to come and check out the kits. So if we have that in place and we're confident that we have the community-based organizations ready to check out some of the kits, the other ones can go directly to patrons. Another great question, Judy. Do we choose what organizations we want to work with, or is it whoever is close to us? That's an evolving question as well. I think this is new. This is part of the pilot, is to kind of see how community-based organizations, how this partnership model will work. So evolving, but hopefully a mixture of both.
Yes.
Robin,
And,
did you want to say something?
yeah, and you know, on the application, you'll see, you know, if you don't work with Girl Scouts, astronomers, 4-H, are there other community-based organizations you work with, especially serving, you know, underserved communities that might serve the same purpose and be strong. So don't think it's only going to be one of those organizations that will be a match for you. It
Yeah.
might be one you've already established.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you're not aware, Girl Scouts has the journeys, which for citizen science, which are really amazing. So hopefully, if they're not already familiar, if you have troops that you work with, like in my library, I had a group of girls who came in and displayed gingerbread houses that they built with younger girls. Boy, I'd go after that troop to start this whole process and say, okay, how can we work together? So, you know, just think back. It may have been a year or two ago, and you know, you just forgot about those connections you have, and they may be the perfect inroads to use to, you know, make these citizen science connections.
That's a great point, Robin. And Emily mentioned this in the chat, but noting that in your application will be really helpful in giving us confidence in selecting you. Other questions? I'm just looking at our list here.
Yep, and Jay, thanks for noting that upcoming Apple training using iPads. That could be really helpful for taking the photographs you're going to upload for My Naturalist. And that's another great idea for a program is we did that at our library. We had a photographer come in and talk about how to take the best pictures using smartphones and mobile devices. You know, that could be part of your collection to promote citizen science because you need those devices to upload information to iNaturalist. So yeah, there's a lot of different avenues once you start thinking, and again, these are the kind of resources we'll share and talk about at these monthly trainings. And also I'd like to encourage you to look at the SciStarter videos. Caroline is our SciStarter hostess with the mostest, and she has provided programs, especially last summer when everything had to be virtual for safety. We've got project scientists interviews, actual, you know, talking about projects. Those would also be perfect to use in programs if you don't have access to the project scientists, or just good ways or ideas to learn more about the project, or maybe a different way you could present a specific citizen science project to your community.
We will be hosting regular national webinars to keep highlighting these resources and how to use them and apply them. So, you know, while we're giving you a pretty high level overview right now, there will be opportunities to dive deeper into all of these resources that we've created, even outside of this grant opportunity. Just join that library network newsletter and you'll get all of that information. Any other questions related to the grant? Feel free to unmute as well if you'd like to ask verbally. If you do have any questions moving forward, please email librarynetwork@scistarter.org. There will be many of us checking that email address so we can get back to you much more efficiently. So email that. And I'm looking at a question. You might have mentioned this. Can we copy the contents of the kit if we don't have the grant? Yes, absolutely. Yes. So all of those resources are on the library network. Sorry, the library kits page of SciStarter, the library resources page of SciStarter, and hopefully, and we're going to be remodeling that a little bit to make it even more user-friendly. And we'll be doing some webinars as well for the national audience on how to build these kits. So join us for those webinars, check out the resources, and seek funding elsewhere. I thought I put that somewhere, but I guess I missed it talking about it. And Robin did mention this, but we are working with other organizations, some of the state library organizations, to try to figure out how to make getting funding for citizen science easy and available to you all. So stay tuned for that. If you join this library network, we were going to be releasing other funding opportunities. That's our goal. That's what we're here for. We're here to support you. We're here to help connect you with funders. We're here to increase your participation and your community's participation in citizen science.
Yeah, and on that, the Arizona State Library has done an amazing job helping us grow this network again through their LSTA grants. They have great examples if you want to gently push that towards your state library organization and say, hey, I'd love some funding to really grow STEM through citizen science to my community. How can I get those LSTA grants like the state of Arizona has done for their libraries? So check out their website. Excellent resource and model for that.
All right, so just to reiterate, you can check out the full application overview on the library network page and then complete the Google form to apply one application per library. Public libraries only, or rather those that are open to anyone and that don't have any barriers for participation. And we are looking forward to getting and seeing your applications on July 23rd and letting you know of our decisions in August. If there are no other questions, I'll give you 5 minutes back before your next meeting, I'm sure. So thank you all, and we will, I'm just checking the chat. Yep, great. And we'll see you and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, thanks.